Let's start now again with our last plenary session of this conference. It is my pleasure to introduce all of you Dr. Ronald Gonzalez, who will honor us with this plenary session with a presentation entitled Alternative Fibers for Hygiene Tissue Applications. Dr. Ronald Gonzalez is an associate professor at North Carolina State University. He is a recognized expert in sustainable fiber-based consumer goods with over than 15 years of industry experience. He has held key leadership roles at companies like SCA and Smurfit Kappa and provided international consultation. Leading a dynamic research group, he is also a co-founder of SAFI to advance sustainable fibers. A prolific author and recipient of prestigious awards, Dr. Gonzalez is committed to innovation, education, and a sustainable future. He will share this session with Nayakari Forfora, a doctoral student also at North Carolina State University. As a member of the organizing committee and of the scientific committee of this conference, I want to thank Dr. Gonzalez for being present in this conference with such a large group of students. It is indeed a relevant participation. So, Dr. Gonzalez, the floor is yours. You have 30 minutes for your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for coming. Today we're going to talk about sustainability, alternative conventional fibers, and how the landscape is changing. And for that, I always like to present why we are talking about this, and it's what is going to happen in the next 5 to 10, 15 years. Of course, you want to run and fix the problems that are happening now, but in our case as a university, we are looking to what is going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years, and then how we need to be prepared for that. Then we're going to zoom in into sustainability, and then we're going to talk about the SAFI initiative. We use global megatrends to understand and also to quantify the effect of these different global mega forces and how they're going to shape our industry. And the truth is that every day, maybe we don't realize this, but every day we are being affected by these global mega trends. And in this case, for this presentation, we are going to cover on sustainability, digitalization, and also changes in social behaviors. And then I will have a specific focus on hygiene tissue, but we also have this analysis for other paper grades. Digitalization has led to a reduction in the capacity of printing and writing paper. Just in the US, in the last 20 years, about 20 million tons capacity loss. And with our doctoral student, Karen Vivas, she's in the middle of the road, she has been forecasting what is going to happen in the next 10 years. And what we see is that for North America, there will be another loss of 50 to 75% of the capacity production. That means less recycled paper. It is very often that I get a call from Colombia, from Cali, Medellin, saying what's going on with recycled paper. I mean, it's very expensive. SOP, the fiber cost before the head box is about $800 per ton. Yes, you heard me right, $800 per ton. Next week, we are going also to Mexicali because they are having Mexico because they are also experiencing the same problems. So these kind of situations that are going to happen and get worse are simply pushing for new fibers in order to substitute the SOP that we are going to be losing. And some of these fibers can be, yes, of course, can be OCC, which we have been doing a lot of work, or it can be some alternative fibers. Then we come to the point of the new generations. They are different to us in the way that they do business. Before they buy something, they check, cross-check Facebook, LinkedIn, and all these social media that cannot catch up on, right? Reference. They look for that. They also want the best for their money, and that is when it comes the private label and the rise of the private label that is happening in Europe and also in North America. But also they want to be responsible for the environment. But when they want to be responsible for the environment, they find a problem, is that they are confused. If they go to the aisle in the supermarket, they cannot distinguish between, okay, what is better, because you can see brown, you can see some packaging with the panda bear on the packaging, but there is no more information there, right? Nevertheless, we see products on the shelf. This is in Germany, where you are familiar with ACT, with the ZIWA, 35,000 tons of wheat straw pulp production in Mannheim. Yesterday, I was walking into one of the supermarkets, because every time I go to a different country, I go to the supermarket and take pictures and then buy samples and bring it home and then do engineering analysis. And then I saw a couple of brown tissue. It was a brown napkin, brown bath tissue, and also brown kitchen towel. I was kind of excited, but then someone told me, maybe they are not really brown, they are dyed. Okay, we will analyze that, okay? Then, if you go to Whole Foods and go to the aisle, you will see this. This is just a roll of kitchen towel. On your left is a kitchen towel brown that now is about $5.2, one roll. On the right is the bleach kitchen towel for less than $2. It's about 2.5 times the difference. So, of course, companies that are in the sector, they see the opportunity for differentiation, because that's what we want, right? Differentiation, and then this is an opportunity to cost that. But we need to prepare for the future. And what is that? Sustainability. If some of these companies, they want to position and then take advantage of the sustainability as a differentiation method, we have to be careful, because the problem with sustainability is that it means something different to each of us. If I do a survey, by the way, Karen Vivas in the middle, she works on consumer perception in SAFI, and she talks with consumers and companies and all of that. You will see that there will be a huge difference in terms of what sustainability means for each of us. For some of us, it will be lower carbon footprint, save the pandas bear in China, buy organic food for my dog, different kind of perception, right? So how can you go around that? Well, you want to use the word sustainability, but also there are some consequences. And this is not only faced by our industry, but also by all the industry that where customers, companies, they are being now sued by saying, hey, you are using the word sustainable, but now you have to prove me that this is really sustainable, right? Hey, you're saying this is a lower carbon footprint, then that's not the case. You have seen the announcement from Lego, the one that the toys, where they say, hey, we cannot use actually recycled plastic, because when we did the LCA, it's actually no lower carbon footprint, right? And also Nestlé, they're saying, hey, you know what, we are going to drop the claim of carbon neutrality because we are actually not carbon neutral, right? And it's because of these kind of situations that are happening. We went to Tissue World in March of this year in Düsseldorf, Germany, and it was very interesting. One company stand up and said, you know that virgin fiber is the most sustainable, and here's the LCA data with all the backup, good. The next presentation, then the CEO for the other company, you all know very well that recycled fiber is the most sustainable of all the fibers. And then the third presentation, another CEO of another company, is not virgin fiber, it's not recycled fiber, it's alternative fiber, miscanthus. So different perspective. And we will explain why those different perspectives. But what is true is that companies are preparing to create a database. And when I say that they are preparing for this, because we are working with them, because what we envision is that very soon, I would say in the next 2 years, you will be walking into the aisle, taking your smartphone, scanning the code, and then you will get the carbon footprint for that. Because, hey, let's be honest, if we are very worried about the immense heat and global warming that is being happening, and then you relate that with CO2. So what is the next thing that you want to do? Hey, I want to buy something that has lower carbon footprint. So it's just a matter to happen. It's not only our industry. If you visit the non-woven industry, it's happening the same, where the suppliers are creating information for them. This is when we come to play. This is an initiative that is home at North Carolina State University in North Carolina, and we are called SAFI, Sustainable and Alternative Fibers Initiative. And our idea is to profile the sustainability of conventional and alternative fibers in order to understand the carbon footprint, so consumers can actually understand what is the lower carbon footprint option, but also for companies to actually understand what capital investment they should invest in order to be aligned with what is going to happen in the future. Our consortium at this moment is sponsored by 25 different organizations, and we have partnership with other universities as well. Most of these are companies, and we are adding another 3 companies in the next month. We try to add companies that are very, very aligned with what we are doing our line of business, which relates for fibers for hygiene tissue, packaging, and also for nonwovens. In addition to these companies, our initiative is being supported by the Rockefeller Foundation, Climate Breakthrough, and Canopy. So just to tell you the story on this organization came to me and said, "We want to support your research." I say, "Yeah, you can support my research, but there's no string attached." Because our idea is to show, eventually, which of the fibers have lower carbon footprint for decision making, and they gave us the funding for the next 3 years. More information in our webpage. There are 7 areas. Those 7 areas go across the whole value chain, from understanding where is the feedstock, supply chain, cost of the feedstock delivered to the mill, understanding the composition of that feedstock, characterization. So we understand the feedstock possibility and potential before we cook them. Conversion is the pulping process. We are evaluating different combinations of feedstock and pathways. Fiber and product performance, when we check if the fiber that we're getting is suitable for this SKU, for this product, for that. This morning we had a meeting with a company that is located in Germany, and that was part of the process. Hey, okay, now you need to send me the furnish to US, and then we can compare if these alternative fibers can actually be a good fit. Techno-economic analysis is where we look into the conversion cost, capital investment, and then what is the lower risk for investment. Of course, life cycle assessment, and we have a gift for you at the end of the presentation because we decided to provide the news that we have not, let's say, broadcasted yet, but we wanted to give it here, right? But you cannot share the news, it's only for you guys, right? And then consumer perception, where everything starts. Sustainability, bamboo, all of these brown fibers, they are here because of consumer perception. That's why we need to understand consumer perception. One of our students in the doctoral program, she's been working on that with also some professors from Georgetown University in the area of business. This is just a quick summary of some of the different combinations that we have. We have more of these, different feedstock, mechanical pulping, chemical pulping, and solvent for different applications, dissolving pulp, hygiene applications, and also for packaging. As I said, that the focus will be in hygiene tissue. This is what of some of the interesting things that we are finding, and it's that on your picture of the left, you will see a typical bath tissue web, 85% short fiber, eucalyptus, 15% long fiber, softwood. Then I'll say, let's include alternative fiber. In this case, we are adding 30% of mechanical pulp with straw into the furnish. What we are seeing right now is that we can get a tissue web with similar properties. There is no changes in the properties. It's bulkier because the with straw is bulkier. But guess what? Now we are using 10% less fiber, and we are achieving similar properties. And when I say that, I'm talking about softness, tensile strength, matching direction, all of that kind of things. But you know what? It's not the end, because this was a very partial result 6 months ago. I told the team, hey, you know what? The focus is not to replace NBSK, long fiber, pine. Maybe, sorry, that's the focus, to replace long fiber, pine. It's not to replace short fibers. And then when we are doing this, we are seeing better optimization, a softer product that can take with straw. Now, because we have different members with different market conditions, then we develop prototypes, different products, different colors that they can use depending on their needs. And this, again, in this portfolio, you will see some that are for hygiene tissue, but also for packaging, and specifically for packaging, where we're working more now is on the folding product. And then you say, okay, talk to me about the cost. It's not the case for all conditions that you will have a lower minimum selling price for these alternative fibers. But there are some of these that are actually compared to the landing price for the market pulp from Brazil or other places, that there is a very nice advantage. So some companies are doing this because, yes, possibility for sustainability, but also for leverage for fiber cost. Then we are producing so much information, like the one that you're seeing here, for each of the product. When we share this with our members, we want to make sure that they can get the most of the information from this. That's why we have developed applications, app that you can access from your office in Sweden or in Italy or in Portugal, and then you can identify what is the combination of feedstock and conversion technology that will give you a pulp very close to what you are looking. Then, life cycle assessment, where we assess the carbon footprint. And this is just to show why we get where we get when these companies say, hey, I have the best fiber of the world compared to the other one. It's because of this. There are 14 different allocation methods. Yes, 14 different allocation methods that are used to allocate burdens to recycled fibers. How is that possible? 14 different allocation methods. And they are used, they are presented. It creates a lot of confusion, right? That's why we have one doctoral student that has been looking into this, and they have said, you know what? This is the one that we actually should be using, and that will be followed by a scientific publication, so that we can compare the same thing. This is the way how traditionally life cycle assessment has been done, inputs and output for a given product. We have said, no, there should be more. And when we were looking at some presentations yesterday, we were very happy because someone from RISE, Institute of Pesquisas, she was saying, hey, you know what? It's very important to understand what's happening below ground. And yes, of course, it's very important because it changes the numbers, right? And it should be part of your life cycle assessment. But currently, based on the standard, it's not. That's why we are publishing, like California, a paper in the next 1 month. We'll say, hey, this is controversial. You should need, you have to use what is happening below ground for this system. Then, of course, acknowledge the land use change and the replacement for the fibers on the market. So this is a typical bleached eucalyptus kraft, the carbon footprint landed from Brazil. We have simulated each of the mills in Brazil, then this is an average. It's about 550 delivered to a location in Southeast United States. When we take into consideration the below ground carbon capture, the potential is that now there is a reduction in the total emission. So that's why we have been including this in our analysis. We also have another app. This is very interesting because usually if you want to run a life cycle assessment, you have to go to a consultant. Sometimes they do not know the specific about your industry. And then after 1 month that you have given the data to the consultant, and also after 20,000 euros, you might get some results. With this, you can actually run life cycle assessment from your office in 10, 15 minutes, and we have the methodology that we are providing. So at this moment, we are going to see an application, a real-life application of all these methodologies and all this blah, blah, blah into something of real life. And for that, I'm going to give the time to Nakari for Fora.
So, hi. As Dr. Gonzalez mentioned, he already introduced the SAFE initiative, but also the methodology that we are using to assess the life cycle assessment of different products. So, first, I want to introduce 2 questions that we want to answer. But before that, I want to tell you why. And the reason is that when you go to the supermarket in the United States, there are an introduction of new products that are saying that as they are using bamboo as a raw material, they are more sustainable. So we were wondering, specifically for hygiene tissue products, if this was actually true. So for that, we want to answer the following 2 questions. Do bamboo fibers have a lower carbon footprint? And the second, how are they compared with traditional fibers such as bleached eucalyptus kraft or BEK? Why the comparison with BEK? It is because it is traditionally used for tissue manufacturing. Specifically in the United States, around 70% of all the consumer bath tissue that is produced comes from BEK. So for answering these 2 questions, I'm going to show you what was the methodology that we follow. So first, we collect all the data from a database called FisherSolve. So basically, in that database, we can know each one of the mills that exists in the world, and also what are the process conditions, what is the bleaching sequences, what are the type of fuels that they are burning, also the productivity and their location. Once we did that, we positioned all the BEK mills in Brazil, they are close to the United States, but for bamboo products, all of them are produced in Asia, specifically in China. So if someone wants to produce tissue using bamboo, they will need to buy that market pulp, in any case, from China. So we made a weighted average, and we construct like an average model of all the mills that produce market pulp in Brazil and all the mills that produce bamboo market pulp in China. And then we made a detailed process simulation with WinGEMS, which is a software developed by Valmet, and Aspen that allow us to construct the life cycle inventory. What is that? All the different inputs and outputs from those mills. Then we know that transportation is a big issue. So for the transportation of the market pulp from Brazil to the United States, we make an average distance of each one of those mills that produce BEK to the closest port, then transported to the United States, and then transported to one position mill that we selected. That ends up in 86 kilograms of carbon dioxide per each bone-dry ton of market pulp that we are producing. But also for the port identification in the United States, we find out that 32% of all the consumer bath that is produced in US comes from the southeast. So then we located the port in the southeast, more specifically Savannah Port. And then we located what is the mill that has the higher production of consumer bath. Then we, using Google Maps, we can find out what is the internal transportation within the US, specifically using rail. For China, we did the same. We find out that all the mills that produce market pulp are clustered around the Yangtze River. So we determine what is the average distance between each one of those mills to the closest port in the river, then the distance in the river to the Shanghai port, then to Savannah Port in the United States, and then to that mill. With that, we end up with a higher emissions, of course, as we were expecting, of 135 kilograms of carbon dioxide per each one bone-dry ton of market pulp made from bamboo. And then the results. So basically, in your left, you are going to, we are showing you what is the result of the carbon footprint for the production of bamboo market pulp using our average scenario. So the final value is around 900 kilograms of carbon dioxide per each air-dry ton of market pulp that is produced in China and then transported to the US. But also we want to simulate a specific scenario. So we select the biggest mill that produces around 32% of all the market pulp in China, and we simulate it. We didn't see a big difference between our average model and our specific case because we are obtaining 880 kilograms of carbon dioxide. But then what happened when we compare against BEK produced in Brazil? The final value is 600 kilograms of carbon dioxide per air-dry ton. And what are the main differences between the production of market pulp in China from bamboo or the BEK in Brazil? The two big differences resides first that the mills in Brazil, most of them are 100% self-sufficient, so they don't rely on the electricity from the grid. So the second, and I think one of the most important things, is that for Brazil, for producing or to fulfill their steam demand, but also to generate electricity, they are using wood waste. Instead, in China, they are around 50% self-sufficient. I mean, they depend from the grid, but also for fulfilling the steam demand, they are burning coal. But then we were asking, okay, what will happen when we already built or we already produced the jumbo roll or the parent roll where the hygiene tissue comes from? So first, we need to clarify that in the United States, the most common technology, around 65% of all the consumer bath tissue, is produced using CTAD technology that produces a premium, high-quality product. Then also, if we go to all the database, nowadays the furnace, or the typical furnace, is 70% BEK, 30% NBSK. When we already have our parent roll, the carbon footprint is around 2,300 kilograms of carbon dioxide per each air-dry ton of jumbo roll. But then we want to evaluate the scenario in which we are producing a jumbo roll made of 100% bamboo, bringing from China. I mean, we are bringing all that market pulp from China. So the final value is around 2,600 kilograms of carbon dioxide. But also we want to include two different scenarios that might be a little more probable in the United States, in which we only displace the NBSK by bamboo. So we are going to have 70% BEK, 30% bamboo, or 30% BEK, 70% bamboo. So in those two scenarios, we can understand that the more bamboo we added, the higher the carbon footprint. Why is that? That is because, as we show you in the previous graph, the market pulp production from bamboo in China has a higher environmental footprint. Therefore, there will be a higher environmental impact also for the production of jumbo rope.
Yeah. And with this, actually, we did not include a slide for conclusion because we wanted to say this more than having the slide. Is that some of the findings is that there is no evidence that using bamboo for hiding tissue in Southeast United States that is brought from China that is lower carbon footprint and good for the environment. And we are going to be publishing very soon this, scientific publications and also conferences to educate consumers about this. And the reason why I wanted to provide this in this forum and release this news with data, real data, hard data, is because I know that you have a very good tradition producing eucalyptus in Portugal. And I said, okay, good. It sounds like we're in the good track, right? And the data shows that. And when we incorporate the carbon footprint below ground, it's even better. So with that, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Professor Ronaldo. Thank you, Naikari, for your interesting, nice, and dynamic presentation. You were asking if there are no questions. I believe there are lots of questions from the audience. Please, those who want to make questions, raise your hands, please. No questions?
Good?
No. We still have time for a few questions. And well, Cristina?
Hello, Cristina Marques from Raiz. One curiosity question. First of all, thank you for the presentations, very interesting. There's no place where you could grow bamboo at the United States? I'm sure you have.
Yeah, there are some bamboo that is grown just for food purposes. But now we are helping a company that is looking to establish bamboo locally. And that might be a game changer for a couple of reasons.
No further questions? Well, I read in the summary of your presentation that this sort of hygiene papers have somehow a loss of softwood, but it was not exactly quantified. Is it meaningful or not?
Say again?
The loss of softness.
Yeah, actually we have compared, but you're talking about the bamboo or?
In general, you talk about the alternative fibers.
There are some combinations. One thing that we got into, actually it's a very nice story. We brought in some alternative fibers, and then we saw that it has a higher strength, and then of course lower softness, right? And then, disappointed, it's very bad. Hey, hold on. The same basis weight, okay. So what happened if you now decrease and drop some of the fibers that are causing that additional strength, and then with that, basis weight goes down, you're actually including a bulkier material on a gram basis, and then with that, the softness improves. So there are some times where actually that can be improved. In some cases, the softness is not that good, right? But it depends how you can play for the different products. Also, what we see that adoption in the very short term, it will be about 10, 15, 20%. I don't think that it will happen like 100% with the exception of bamboo, which is a different product.
Mm-hmm. Regarding all the tensions that we are living now in the world, is there any concerns regarding the supply of these alternative fibers or not?
Well, if we see who is supplying alternative fiber, there are very, very few companies, but they are coming aligned. We have Genera in Tennessee that is producing pulp from switchgrass and miscanthus. Also Red Leaf in Canada that is building the plant to produce wheat straw market pulp. We also know about Mannheim in Germany, but of course for their own consumption of wheat straw market pulp. And also the company Wepa is using wheat miscanthus in the product Black Satino that you can find in their shelf in a Regwen supermarket in Germany. So it's coming.
And as a Portuguese guy, should we be afraid of these alternative fibers regarding the use of our eucalyptus?
I don't think so, because as we just showed, and that's why I said it's a very good news for the Portuguese community, is that, as you can see, the carbon footprint is lower compared to other alternative fiber like bamboo, because if you want to compare and get similar properties, bamboo might be the one, right? Like, hey, you know what? It might be the one that can make the change, but the carbon footprint is actually higher.
Yes. Okay, any further questions? No, maybe you were quite clear. Well, let's thank again Professor Gonzalez and also Ferreira. Thank you, and let's applaud them.
Thank you so much.